We take billions of photos every single day with our phones, our webcams, our cameras. It just feels so simple, right? Point and click. But behind that one simple click is this incredible piece of technological magic. It's a process that turns the light from the world all around us into a permanent digital memory. So how in the world does that actually work? How does a real physical scene, full of light and color and depth, get translated into millions of tiny little pixels on a screen? Well, that's the incredible journey we are going to unravel right now. So here's the plan. We're going to follow the path of light, right from the scene to the sensor. Then we'll see how pixels actually see light. We'll dive into a big technology debate, figure out how the camera cleans up the signal, and finally see how that final image gets made. So let's get started. Okay, so our story begins, maybe unsurprisingly, with light itself. The very first job a camera has is just to catch that light. And this happens in two main steps. First up, you've got the lens. Think of the lens as the camera's eye. Its job is to gather up all the light from the scene in front of you and focus it down into a sharp, coherent image. That focused beam of light then slams into the image sensor, a tiny little rectangular chip that acts as the camera's retina. And this is where the real magic of translation begins. So let's zoom in, way in on that sensor, because it's not just one solid piece. It's actually a grid made up of millions of microscopic light detectors. Now, when you hear the word pixel, you probably think of the tiny colored squares on your TV or your phone screen, right? But at this stage of the game, a pixel is something totally different. It's really a photosite, a microscopic device whose one and only job is to measure light. And the process is, well, it's really elegant. When photons, particles of light, hit the pixel, they generate an electrical charge. The brighter the light, the stronger the charge that builds up. Less light means a weaker charge. So what the sensor is really doing is creating a massive grid, a map of brightness levels across the entire scene. Okay, but wait a second. This brings up a massive problem. If each one of these millions of pixels can only see in black and white, if they can only measure the amount of light, not the type of light, how on earth do we get a color photograph out of it? The solution is an absolutely brilliant piece of engineering called a Bayer filter. It's this microscopic mosaic of red, green, and blue filters that sits right on top of the image sensor, so now some pixels are designated to only see red light, others are set up to only see green, and the rest only blue. The camera's brain then takes this patchy quilt of color data and uses some seriously clever algorithms to make a very educated guess about the true full color value for every single pixel. It's an amazing mix of hardware filtering and really smart software. Now, how all that color and brightness data actually gets read off the sensor? Well, for decades, that was the subject of a huge technology war between two completely different designs. In one corner, you had CCD sensors. Think of these like a bucket brigade. The electrical charge from each pixel is carefully passed down the line, row by row, to a single readout point at the very end. This process is super precise. It produces beautiful, high-quality images, but it's kind of slow. In the other corner, you have CMOS. With CMOS, every single pixel has its own little amplifier right there on the spot. This means the data from any pixel can be read directly and individually, which makes the whole process way faster, more energy efficient, and a whole lot cheaper to make. But, of course, neither one was perfect. Each had its own signature flaw, and you've probably seen these in old photos or videos. With CCDs, if a pixel got way too much light, that electrical charge could literally bloom or spill over into its neighbors, creating these washed-out streaks. And CMOS sensors, because they read the image line by line, could suffer from what's called a rolling shutter effect, which is why fast-moving objects could sometimes look skewed or wobbly. So, who won the great sensor war? Well, the numbers tell a very clear story. By 2017, CMOS sensors just completely took over, capturing almost 90% of the market. And why? Well, they're cheaper, they use less power, and they're incredibly fast, all things that are absolutely essential for the rise of smartphones and high-def video. The technology just kept getting better and better until it matched and even beat CCD quality while keeping all of its other advantages. Okay, so we've captured our light, we've read the data off the sensor, we should be good to go, right? Well, not quite. The raw signal that comes off that chip, it's not perfect. It's often contaminated with a bunch of unwanted electrical static, which we see in our photos as digital noise or grain. And this noise usually comes in two flavors. First, there's colored noise. This is a fixed pattern that's caused by tiny physical imperfections in the sensor itself. You can think of it like the sensor's own unique, noisy fingerprint. Then there's white noise. This is more like random static, and it's often just caused by heat building up in the sensor. It gets way, way worse when you're shooting in the dark because you have to crank up the signal. And the solution for all this mess? It's all about incredibly smart software. Every modern camera has a powerful little brain inside, with sophisticated algorithms designed specifically to hunt down and remove this noise. And I mean, you can really see the difference it makes, turning a grainy, messy shot into a much cleaner, much clearer final image. All right, we are on the home stretch. We've reached the final, and maybe the most crucial stage, the digital darkroom, where all of this raw data gets transformed into the photograph that we actually get to see. And all of this happens literally in the blink of an eye. First, that analog electrical charge from each pixel gets converted into a digital number, a 1 or a 0. Second, the camera's image processor kicks in, acting like a tiny automated photo lab. And finally, all that resulting data gets packaged up, compressed, and saved to your memory card. Let's talk about that processing step for a second, because this is where your camera basically becomes a tiny, super fast professional photo editor. In an instant, it's applying sharpening to make the edges look crisp, it's running those noise reduction algorithms we just talked about, it's correcting the white balance so that whites look pure white instead of yellow or blue, and it's fine-tuning all the colors to look vibrant and accurate. And this all leads to the final choice, how to save the file. Most of the time, your camera just saves a JPEG. That's the finished product, it's been processed, compressed, and it's all ready to share. But professional photographers often shoot in what's called RAW. A RAW file is like a digital negative. It has all of the original, untouched, unprocessed data straight from the sensor, which gives them total flexibility to do all of that editing themselves later on. So really, when you step back and look at the whole process, a digital camera isn't just a box that traps a picture. It's an incredibly sophisticated translation device. It takes the messy, chaotic, analog reality of light and methodically converts it into structured digital information. And that really just leaves us with one final thought. We've gone from sensors that could only see in black and white to capturing brilliant, stunning color. We've gone from slow, noisy sensors to the incredibly fast and clear ones that we all have in our pockets today. So the big question is, what's next? What will the sensors of the future be able to capture that we can't even begin to imagine today?